Hello, friends. I'm back for another day. I was talking about why I didn't have friends. And I was going to say that I have debilitating loneliness. But, excuse me, sometimes I feel better in my own company than with other people, because I was abused for most of my life, and by the time I was a teenager, I was terrified of people. I don't know, I guess I had a hard time relating to others. I had a hard time knowing what to say to people because I was afraid of them all the time. And when you're afraid of people, you tend to want to be on your own. I was like that, and my brother was like that too. Not because he was afraid of people, but he preferred to be around one person. And most of the time that was me. He had girlfriends and friends now and then, but he was very much a loner like I am. I miss my brother terribly. He died of heroin addiction. We did not know, my mom and I, our mom and I. We found out about 16 years ago when I came out of hospital, and I wanted to find him, and I tried to find a private investigator that I could afford, but I could not. They were too much money. So I called the Toronto police and I put in a 10-year missing persons report. I gave them his name and the fact that he had scars on his arms from a motorcycle accident he had been in with his girlfriend when he was a young man. Anyway, the next day they came to our house and told us, and I thought that they were coming to tell us, oh, they had found him, because we didn't know where he was living. At one point he had told us that he wanted to go and live in Vancouver, because as a boy, he took the trip over there with our grandmother on the train, and he loved it so much that he didn't want to come home. So I thought, well, maybe he's living in British Columbia having a good life. And then they told us that he had died 4 years before. The police did not alert us. They made no effort to alert my mom and I, even though he had a lifelong friend that did the cremation and paid for everything. And she had told them, the police, my mom's name was the same as our last name. Like my brother's mom and I, we all have the last name Dixon. And that we were living in a certain part of the city, and that my mom had a driver's license. Anyway, yeah. When we found out that day, the police officer gave us the name and number of the funeral home that had done the cremation and the proceedings and everything. And I called them and said, look, please get in touch with the person who did my brother's arrangements. And they said, well, they may have moved. And I said, well, that's fine. But if they haven't, I want to hear from them. And about 20 minutes later, we got the call from my brother's friend. They were never boyfriend and girlfriend, which I thought they had been because I met her when I was a kid. But no, they were just very close friends. And she didn't know he was addicted as badly as he was. So I think and wonder about my brother. What pain would he have been suffering to do that to himself? We kind of view it as a suicide. And he was living with a man, a roommate, who was extremely abusive to him. I wonder why he turned to drugs. I know he was a troubled soul. I guess I was too, but now I've overcome that. I've got my mom's love to help me get by. But I miss being and doing things with my brother Jim. I loved him dearly. I still do. I remember one time when I was 18 and he was 7 years older than me. And when we were kids, we used to watch the show Kung Fu with David Carradine on TV. My brother, I called him Jimmy then. He said, Michelle, watch this. And then when I was 18, it came back on TV late at night. They showed the reruns. And Jim would say to me, you know what's going to be on TV tonight? He says, Kung Fu. He said, you want to watch it with me? I said, sure. So we hunkered down and we got all kind of chips and Coca-Cola. We even made some cookies to eat. And I think I made a pizza, a Chef Boyardee pizza. Yeah, we had so much fun watching that show. It was as important then as it was when I was a child. It came on in the early 70s, and it ran for a couple of years, but then I don't know why they canceled it. Yeah, that's where the term grasshopper came from. Because in the show, it shows David as a young boy being taught to be a monk. And the teachers in the monastery, the monks in the monastery, called him Grasshopper because he was part American and he was taller than all the Asian boys. Yeah, so that's where the term grasshopper came from. I don't mean the bug. I mean, it started with that TV show. If you don't know it, Google Kung Fu Grasshopper, and you'll learn the story behind it. Yeah. And then there were other times when I was 20 my brother and I, we both lived with our maternal grandmother. And he made a dark room because he was a black and white photographer. And he made a dark room down in front of the furnace. And I used to go down there. I'd said, I'm coming down. He'd say, keep the light off, I'm developing photos. So I'd go down there and I'd stand behind him for hours at a time, just watching his hands flutter like birds. Yeah. If you like this video, please feel free to subscribe, click on the like button, and don't forget to tap the little bell. That way I can make more videos like this. Remember, you are precious and life is precious. I know because I've been on the dark side of life. And I'm happy to say I'm still here, despite my health problems, despite my mental illness, despite being chronically ill. Life is precious. And you are important. Thank you so much for watching. Take care now. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.